Hello, I'm Andy Schmuckler. I'm thinking about romanticizing things, which I know that I do romanticize some things, and I also have feelings about that it's okay to do what I'm doing. One of the places that I definitely am happy to romanticize about is romance itself. Love is a many splendored thing. uh, if you're not old enough, I know a big song in the 50s. Love is something that, well, I've got a piece you might Google Schmuckler and the sacred space of lovers. It's it's a picture of something very beautiful that I believe is quite real, and it's sort of the ideal. It's um, the what the what it is that's um, good to be having in the world, um, and that is upon a continuum that points toward something really very special. And I'm a guy who likes what other people might call chick flicks because I like for the movie to end with the guy getting the girl together, and it's always very romanticized. And sometimes it's frustrating that I don't really believe in the relationship, but I'm always glad to see at the end of the movies, old movies I watched, that the two romantic leads come together happily, presumably to live happily ever after. And, and there's my wedding picture, and I do believe in the sacred space of lovers, and I know that the reality and the romanticizing, if that's the right word, are in basic harmony. One is just a more perfected, distilled to its wonderful essence. And I think that that's what makes romanticizing okay. If what you're romanticizing is bringing out and accentuating the fundamental goodness in the thing, like a good love relationship, then it is a form of celebrating. It is good. It's a way of getting into the beautiful essence of things. But um, if you have something getting romanticized that's not worthy of it, that it's basically more of a negative that's being romanticized. Like Lily Riefenstahl, who has made brilliant propaganda movies for the Nazis back in the early years of the regime, uh, and she did one about the 36 Olympics. And anyway, she makes Nazism look so beautiful. It's really quite romanticized, the way some artwork would be, some handsome, blonde, noble, Aryan people embodying that great master race. The ugliness that they ignore is so fundamental to what the regime was, that the romanticizing was in some basic moral sense wrong. Brilliantly done, but it was wrong to make Nazism look so beautiful. So the truth value is essentially relevant here. Um, as somebody who's really mostly dedicated to the truth, I tend to think that we should just look at things the way they are. But and I'm also into this romanticization. And if the romanticization is essentially a lie, like the Nazi propaganda films, all that beauty, then it's not such a great thing to do. I feel the same way about the way that the Confederacy has been romanticized ever since the end of the war, the lost cause. Romanticized in the South, for whom the whole thing had been a ticket to a huge catastrophe. And yet, they've romanticized it in such a way that they still have, or at least in recent times, wanted to name things after the disastrous leadership like Jefferson Davis. You know, romanticizing a movement that not only brought catastrophe, but more so was that was acting lawlessly and seceding, and acting as it was with the central goal of expanding the empire of the slave system. Uh, the right of white people to say that the black person has no rights that the white person is bound to respect, like the Supreme Court said in Dred Scott. This is what they were fighting for. And to romanticize that as something noble, when it's really basically about cruel exploitation of one group of human beings by another group of human beings, not, not something to romanticize. I, where I romanticize also some aspects of World War II. I'm a big fan of FDR. I'm a big fan of Churchill. I've read enough biographies of each of them that I know that they are far from perfect people, but they are great heroes from me. And I'm really like getting into watching the heroic way in which those two leaders and the American people and the British people rallied to achieve something that history really needed to have achieved, the defeat of the fascist powers. Now, I know that the actuality of all these American and British people striving to win that war is a mixed picture of a lot of different things. But I like the romanticization of a movie like Mrs. Miniver, Best Picture of the Year, I think in 42 or 3, which is a picture of the English dealing with the threat of the Nazis and the attacks from the Nazis. And it's just a wonderful romanticized picture. I mean, they even have a contest involving the beauty of two different breeds of roses. It's so English at its celebratory best. And I like it. I like World War II movies in general that essentially romanticize the Allies as really good guys. And, you know, there's an element of truth there. I believe it is factually could be established that if you were, let's say, a French or Belgian town and you wanted to compare what was it like to have the Nazis take power in your society when they came marching through with what was it like when the Americans or the British came marching through, I think that you would find that there really was a difference, that there were good guys and bad guys. I believe that there would be that difference. And I'm happy to watch movies in which I never have to feel like, oh gosh, I'm an American and an American did this terrible thing. I'm sure that there were terrible things that happened. But I got no ambivalence about watching The Longest Day and watching these heroics of these American and British soldiers landing under fire on the beaches of Normandy. I can even watch Nixon's favorite movie, Patton, and feel good about the heroics of when Patton's Third Army does the impossible in how many miles they covered to rescue Bastogne in the Battle of the Bulge. And it's all very heroic. And watching movies about, say, Winston Churchill and the speeches he gave. I love that stuff, and I recognize that. I've read a bunch of. Churchill was a very flawed guy. I don't know if I could have stood being in his for very long. He's sort of like Teddy Roosevelt that way. I mean, he's so admirable from a distance, but I'm not sure I'd have the patience to listen to them harangue me. But the role that they play. I don't mind seeing it romanticized. I like seeing guys in the white hat. Moral ambiguity, well, a little bit, okay, but basically, I want the comfort of seeing really good people doing really good things, uh, and I like the idea that it was the England of Mrs. Miniver that helped defeat the Nazis, a romanticized England that I love. Maybe I got manipulated into it because a lot of the movies were made with a propagandistic purpose of rallying people. And the same with American movies during World War II, which I also like. But because it's basically true that we were fighting a righteous war, and we basically did it in ways that were pretty admirable, I'm happy to have that that experience of romanticization, where I get to identify with something which is not all that morally ambiguous and that succeeds. And nothing much more I like in life is to believe in what I'm doing and to succeed at it. So if I can identify with people I believe in and have them win that war, that's great for me. And romanticizing it enriches the experience for me. Well, those are my thoughts about romanticization. Thank you. Bye-bye.